This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for Take Two with Betsy Broadman and her exceptional guest.
Okay, I'm glad you could come. I thought we were going to have music, but that's okay. We'll do it next time.
We can
Hi, Amy.
dance.
We can. I could put on an album. Hi, I'm really glad you're here.
I'm really glad to be with you, Betsy.
No, it was really great that you said yes. So, by way of introduction, what I know about Amy is that she's an extraordinary writer, an extraordinary playwright, an extraordinary person, and that's the most important part, I think. But I think one of the things I want to emphasize in the beginning of this is that a lot of people who I've gotten about 100 notes from, and the reason they love you and knew about you was because you write such empathic and very extraordinarily on Facebook, you're writing things that really help them feel good about themselves every day. It's like you can open up every day and you can see something from Amy, and it's a good, really good message to carry through the day. And I want to thank you for that. And I'm sure everyone else does too. So let's start by saying hello and how are you?
Well, I want to say, that it's so wonderful to be sitting here chatting with you.
No, it's taken a while.
It's kind of like, when we're on the phone and we're chatting, we don't, but I feel like you're right in my house and it's so lovely.
Well, you're clearly here.
I know. It's like we're both sitting and there's green everywhere. So I'm glad to be here with you.
Hello. I am too, sweetie. And I know that we've been trying to get together for a while, but this is the way, and there's a lot of other people around, so that's better. That's fine. I wanted to start backwards, which is a funny thing to do, but there's a reason. What is it that you're working on right now?
What I'm working on right now, writing-wise, is a book for She Writes Press for Brooke Warner, and it's called The Mess of Love. And it's I'm working on it. I have about 75 pages. And Ken, my husband, Ken, is working with me on it, editing, and Brooke is working with me. And it's really kind of like the continuation of Marrying George Clooney, but stories that I should have told, but were afraid to tell.
Let's go further with that. Do you mind?
I don't mind.
Okay, let's do that. Let's get to that. When you say stories that, I don't want to hear anything deep, but I'm just saying stories that you should have told. What does that mean?
I think that, we all have stories in us that are in our bodies that we're afraid to share because we're afraid we're going to be judged, or we're afraid that someone's going to come out of the fucking woodwork, or we're afraid, and these are stories that I did not include in Marrying George Clooney, because with Marrying George Clooney, while I was in the middle of writing it, my mother was diagnosed with dementia. And so all of us, right? And so all of a sudden the book became about my relationship with my mother.
Yeah. And
so while writing that, I didn't write about other things that I wanted to write about or should have. And so now I'm being a little bit more brave. And I've decided to be more brave so that other people can be more brave.
Well, I think that's sort of your moniker, right? That you're brave to be inclusive for other people and to encourage them to say what they want to say, or to even let themselves deal with things that they don't necessarily deal with, and to share with other people. And I think that's the most wonderful thing about you. It really is extraordinary.
Oh, Betsy, thank you. Well, I think how the book really came about was Brooke said to me, and Brooke and I have been friends forever and ever, and she's published, she was at Seal Press when George Clooney and the whole 9 yards. But she said that she asked me if there was, how everybody always says, what would you do? What would you change if you were to go back and talk to your 5-year-old or 8-year-old self?
Right.
And she asked me that one day. and in conversation. And I said, I would tell that 5-year-old to do absolutely everything that she's about to do, because it's going to be who she is when she's grown up is going to be who she wants to be when she's grown up.
I love that. And I think also that people have asked me similar things, but in terms of, would you change anything? I hear everybody hears that, right? I don't think I would change very much. Would you have changed very much in your life?
No,
Yeah, because it got you to where you are now.
absolutely. And I think that's what the thing is when people say, oh, I wouldn't have dated that guy, or I wouldn't have had that, or I wouldn't have done that. I think you're so not telling the truth. It's kind of like all the mistakes that I've made, and I've made so many, but each one of them got me here. And here is a really good place to be.
It is. And I think all of those failed, whatever, be they relationships or friendships or things that we're sad about, gave us a lot of what's in here, a lot of the things that we grew from enormously. I think the hurt, everything, the joy, the whole gambit. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's Molly.
I was gonna, that was my, no, don't. I was gonna ask where's Molly, but that's okay. We can do that now. That's my.
Here's Molly.
Hey, Molly, where are you?
Molly. Molly. Okay.
That's also the other funny thing about your page. I love.
Yes. Yes.
So what other than what you talked to me about are you working on? I mean, in general, not writing, just.
Well, I'm the director of the Story Summit Writers School,
Good.
which is pretty phenomenal. And that's actually been such an incredible blessing during COVID and the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because what we created out of that, and when I say we did, it was a collaboration, is something pretty phenomenal. And we started out with like 25 students 2 years ago, and now we have something like 1,600. So we built this environment online to mentor and help writers and creatives. And we have all of these incredible writers and directors and filmmakers and publishers. Right. And, it's extraordinary how it's grown.
And probably they feed off of each other in terms of their excitement and in terms of their despair, in terms of their whatever.
Yes. And it's actually a community. And I think we all long for community.
Yeah.
Right? We all long for community. It's kind of why people join cults.
We can get to that later.
We can get to that much later.
Story about that. Yeah.
We can get to that much later. But it's really a community, and we've created this wonderful space where people come and they learn and they write and they work together, and they go out in the world, and a lot of them are getting their books published and screenplays made, and it's phenomenal.
And what was the genesis of this? How did this start?
It started.
Was it during COVID? No, it was not before that.
Right? It was pre-COVID. I came in 2 years and some change. But I think about 4 years ago, it really kind of was created by David Kirkpatrick,
right,
who was the head of production at Paramount and Disney, and he decided with a couple of other folks that what was really needed was this environment to mentor young writers. And so he created and founded the Story Summit. And then when COVID happened and the pandemic really hit, it was kind of like throwing a butter patty up in the ceiling and seeing if it was going to stick, right? It was like one of those things.
Not only did it stick, but it grew and grew and grew, right?
Absolutely. And he brought in Deb Engel and me to be co-directors. We did not know each other. And it was Jeff Arch, who I know you love madly, who recommended me to David and said, there's this chick who's like she's a chick magnet. And so
Right.
it was Jeff who recommended me, to come on board. And then Deb and I were kind of thrown together. We didn't know each other at all.
If you could boil down an example, let's make it more micro, if you don't mind, to sort of get it just
Sure.
in a little bit. So I don't know much about it. I know what you've said, but I don't know much about it. And what is it, a week? Is it a month? What is it? Is it a particular length of time, or is it just an ongoing project?
It's well, actually, Story Summit has about 15 or 20 different classes. Right now, one of the classes we're doing is called the Year of Memoir. And so we're literally doing every Monday night, Deb and I are co-facilitating
Yeah.
the Year of Memoir. And we have about 50 students, and we're doing this until the end of December. But then we have the Art of Publishing, which is a 2-day course. And then we have the art of from script to screen, and we bring in producers and directors.
Doing that?
What?
Is Jeff working on that?
Jeff is always working with us. Jeff does, and he's doing a class called Log Lines.
Right. That's what I was going to get at.
Yeah, and so we have different classes. We offer up, it's kind of like a menu. We
So
offer
is there
up
like a catalog? Is it like going to school and you've got a catalog to pick what
it's
you
kind
want?
of, it's a website, and there's a menu,
Get it. Get it.
and every year, and this will be the second year, we're doing a live in-person event called Her Spirit for women
Ooh.
in Santa Fe. And so it's from December 4th to the 8th. Marta Kaufman is our keynote speaker.
Really?
Yeah, and it's 4 days in Santa Fe at the La Fonda Hotel. And so we're doing that.
Yeah, that's great.
And we have some really wonderful women who are on faculty. So it's 3 days, 4 days of, all women, an all women
What could
retreat.
be better, right? No, seriously. No, I mean, come on.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Santa Fe is gorgeous.
I know. We live there, but
Yeah.
anyway, I don't want to get into that. So how did you make the transition? Because I'm not real clear, and I'm sorry, I'm not real clear how you became a writer. I know a lot about your background when you were growing up. I know a lot about your background when you started writing, but how did you really become a dedicated writer or playwright or whatever you want to call it?
I think I became a writer when I was a little girl. I don't think I wanted to be anything. I wanted to be a beautician, but that was when I was like 7, and I would do my mom's hair.
Right.
But I always loved writing.
Sweet.
So I don't think I became a writer. I think I was a writer.
Uh-huh.
And I think I
That's a good
fell
distinction.
into what was exactly right for my life. And a lot of it had to do with, Betsy, that I was very insecure as a little girl. And so I would write in my diary. And I always felt like I wasn't good enough. And I always felt gawky, and I was always skinny, and I had braces and frizzy hair. And who knew that all of that was going to be really kind of cool and sexy when I got older.
This is freaking me out because I used to go into my closet in my bedroom and I would shut the door, and instead of writing, I would make up plays.
Yeah, well, I would do the
That was
same
my way of coping.
in a diary.
Yeah, exactly. It was a really, I guess for me, it was like a necessary outlet.
And
And
it was absolutely, and it fed our imaginations.
oh yeah.
So we were creating while we were little out of pain and out of loneliness. I mean, I really did, that's the truth of it. And I would sit with my diary and when I was 8 years old, I was going to marry Richard Polito and have his babies. He lived around the corner, and
I was gonna say, is that somebody I should know? Okay.
no, but it's kind
I
of,
get it. I get it. No, I
if
get
I
it.
ran into him now, I would be like, you were the man, you were the kid I wanted to marry.
That actually happened to me about a month ago with somebody in 3rd grade. I think one of my other coping mechanisms was singing Broadway shows. I don't know why. No, seriously.
Yes.
I don't, maybe it was
We're
because
on the roof. I could sing like, yes. It's weird, right?
no, it is not only weird. I think I'm just thinking this is extemporaneously. I hadn't thought about this in ages. My grandmother, who was probably the most nurturing person I know. I grew up in a pretty contentious family. And my mother she was lovely, but I don't think she knew how to mother. And so I don't fault her for that, but she just wasn't there. I mean, wasn't there.
Yeah,
And my
okay.
dad was wonderful. He was just the best, but he was never present. He wasn't present. He couldn't be present. So I coped by, oh, and they brought me to a lot of Broadway shows. That's what I was going to get at from the age of about 5. And I remember going to see Funny Girl. My mother is her cousin. And we went backstage and I got really embarrassed because I didn't know what to say to her. I was so,
Barbra Streisand?
yeah, I was young. I didn't know what to say to her. She just blew me away. But that did it. And then I started to get for Christmas, instead of the things I wanted, which was what? Sweaters and skirts and other kinds of records. I got My Fair Lady and I got Carousel and I got different. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know what just came up. Is that yours?
I don't know what you're talking about, honey.
Okay, there's something that just came up. Open security and privacy things. Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, there's something that's on the screen, so I don't
The
know.
only thing I see is you, which is nice. I just see
Okay.
you and a wooden door behind you and the rest of the room. But anyway, I was just saying that was not just an escape mechanism. It really clicked in me that maybe I did have a part of me that was pretty creative. I didn't know. I mean, that was just sort of something that led me to that.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I get it. I went to Broadway shows with my dad all the time.
The best.
All the time. It was, and this was like what, the 60s,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
When Broadway was Broadway and Broadway was sexy and oh God, yes. It was incredible.
What were your favorite ones when you were little?
My favorite ones.
Yeah.
West Side Story,
Oh yeah.
Funny Girl, Mame. Was it Mame?
You
No,
like
no, Gypsy.
Shirley?
Oh, I love Gypsy.
We'll talk about, we should have a phone call about that. That's,
Oh my God. But I just, I saw South Pacific, but I wasn't totally nuts about that. Guys and Dolls.
that's my favorite, and My Fair Lady, those two.
My Fair Lady. Yes. Yes. And they were mesmerizing and you were swept away and it just, there's something about live theater and music and being a part of that, because the audience becomes very much a part of that. It does, it's art. Art changes your life.
It does. And I think from conversations I've had with numerous artists in terms of what it does for them, so it's a real give and take, right? So for me, or for whatever, the people in the theater, you absorb it and then you take it with you.
Yes.
And then it becomes something bigger and grander and more wonderful for the people. But also talking to other actors, which I'm sure you've done too, it feeds them. I mean, it absolutely feeds them to be on live stage. There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. And there's something about the immediacy of it.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right? It's
You
like
can
you're
you can hear the reactions.
Yes, there's the immediacy of it, and it just feeds you. It nourishes you. And to me, I think those were the greatest gifts my father ever gave me. Art. My father filled me with art. He filled me with museums and with theater and with music. And my mother was just like my mother was not nourishing or nurturing. And so my father is who gave me a sense of there's a world out there.
Amy, where did you grow up?
I grew up in East Meadow, Long Island.
Okay. Did you ever go, I don't know if you're younger than I am, I think, but on Sundays, they had Leonard Bernstein's concert for young people.
Yes,
Did you ever go to any of those? Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I don't think I did go. I do remember it, but I don't think I did go. Saturdays were the day that I spent with my father. I mean, my father and I spent Saturdays together, and he would take me to the museum. He would take me into the city. He would take me to see shows. He would, but just thinking about it now is, it's like, wow, how art changes your life. And for kids who don't have that,
Mhm.
And and we're living in a world right now, Betsy, where so much is being canceled, right? Cancel culture, and that books are being banned, and movies and theater, and these are the things that kids need to feed them.
And I think you're absolutely right. And I think the flip side of that, or the other side of that, is that a lot of people have band together and worked together to make sure that as many of them have that. There's
Without
a
a doubt.
lot of organizations that people have put together because
Yes.
it's just not coming to them, and we can't live without that. That's no way for kids to grow up. It's no way for anybody to not have that as part of their soul. It's really not. It's a really enriching. Beside enriching, it's more than that. I don't know.
Well, enriching is a good word. It's I think that's what really feeds us when we're little. It's music, it's musicals, it's theater, it's art, it's books, it's something live. Going into a museum and standing in front of a piece of art,
Mhm.
it can take you somewhere that you never thought you'd go.
What was your very first? I'm going to switch gears here.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you this before. I remember I wrote you a note and I said, let's meet up when I come into the city. And you said, Betsy, I don't live in the city. What was your first rock concert? Or music concert? You know what I mean?
No, my first rock concert. Wow. Let's see.
Mine was dorky, so.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's real. I think I think I was down at the Fillmore. Well, I do know that I saw the Grateful Dead a lot. I saw, the one concert that blew me the fuck away was Carly Simon and Cat Stevens.
Really? That was it?
At Carnegie Hall.
I saw that, yeah.
What was the first rock concert? Oh my God.
Well, I'll tell you, and then you can just jump in. It's a funny story.
Go ahead.
I just thought of this. We were all of 11 and 12, and we were campaigning for Eugene McCarthy.
Yeah.
At the Westchester County Center to see the Dave Clark 5. And
oh God.
And
I love the Dave Clark 5.
But we were there with our, placards and screaming for him because he was going to the concert. I'm leaving obviously that part out. So I'm on purpose. So he was climbing up and he was going to come into the concert. And I don't think that was planned. I think he just really wanted to see it with his kids. And then was it Nixon?
What year was that?
That's what I'm actually.
The Dave Clark 5 came after the Beatles, right? So that we're talking 60.
It's all in the same kind of pocket.
Huh.
And
right.
Eugene McCarthy.
They were the American Beatles, like Herman's Hermits. Wow.
So we were doing it. I'll tell you what. So afterwards, it was planned to do a candlelight vigil for peace. But this is for mothers. We were little kids, and so we just had our candles. And all of a sudden, was it Dean Rusk or Nixon? It was somebody, and he walked right by me, and I got so angry. I threw my candle down, and it caught the bottom of his trouser on fire. No, and I was jumped by all these Secret Service people, and my father, who I won't go into what he did, but that was the antithesis of what he that was embarrassing for him, very embarrassing for him.
Oh, I'm
But
sure
for me,
that's
that started
a
off
story.
my whole tangent of politics.
And
and-
rock and roll.
They're intertwined, no? Yeah, exactly. You got it.
Politics and rock and roll. Oh my God.
Did you live at the Fillmore on the weekends?
Not all the time, but yes, I did. I did. There were a group of us who took the Long Island Railroad
Right.
and then went all the way downtown. And I remember going to the Capitol Theater also.
Oh, the best.
Oh
oh
my
my God.
God. Wow. God, these are
That's
such
a flashback. I hadn't thought about that. You mean in Passaic?
Capitol Theater. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was one in Portchester near me, but it was very different.
And the Capitol Theater in the city, right? Was it on where was it on 14th or 23rd? But it was, yeah, amazing. Just amazing to have those memories, to even know that we did stuff like that.
I sometimes, I'm talking to my son sometimes, and at first, when he was being brought up, Danny used to play air guitar, and no, he did, and I would sing, and Jeffrey was like, "Oh my God, this is crazy." And he went to a college, and he transferred to Boulder. And what did he get for his roommate? But a guy who was brought up in exactly the same house, and it was same kind of house. And he played air guitar, and he was really good at it. There was a group called the Fray, and he was in that group. Yeah. But the reason I'm telling you that is that there's so much of my tapestry, I guess that's what I'm saying. So much of my tapestry is woven through what you're talking about. And I wanted to share that with you,
So incredible.
How did you meet Ken?
What?
How did you meet Ken?
I met him on a movie that I wrote.
Oh, that's right. He was a cameraman?
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
Was it love at first sight?
It was was it love at first sight? I think it was very much like a movie moment.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the camera, and he was on a crane, and he was wearing a cowboy hat. And I was on the set that day, and I looked up, and he looked like Clint Eastwood. And I was standing with Matt Dillon, who was in the movie. And it was kind of like one of those things where our eyes met. It was really neat. It was really, really neat. Was it love at first sight?
Well, you know what I mean. That's it.
No, but that's, when people say it's love at first sight, I think it was.
Well, it was clearly a connection that obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a connection at first. There was something very, like, it really was like West Side Story in the gym. It was like all of a sudden,
everybody disappeared.
It was that everybody disappeared, and there were just two of us. Yeah. Yeah, he's a good one.
We were talking about our mothers before, or I was talking and you were talking about our mothers before. We were also talking about Mary and George Clooney, which I hope you can come back and we can talk more about when we have time. Because I really, really loved that book a lot. I've gifted it 5 people, but I probably would, if I could have afforded it, I would have given more. It's a wonderful book. Do you have that passage we talked about mothers, or something about your mother?
I found it and I lost it.
Oh, okay.
But the thing about marrying George Clooney, which it really started out as just a wacky book. It was like my musings at 3:00 in the morning while I was in the thick of menopause. And then my mother literally was diagnosed with dementia. And I called my publisher, Seal Press. Ooh.
That's them now.
Now, I called my publisher and said, listen, I got to go down to Florida, and I got to take care of my mom. And because I was in the thick of writing all of this. And she said something to me that changed my entire life. She said, I want you to dig deep, start writing about this.
Hmm.
And
Was that scary initially?
it was really scary because it meant that I was diving into something that was not resolved. My relationship with my mother was very, my mother and I, as I kind of look back,
Mhm.
or have looked back, my mother and I did not have a dysfunctional relationship.
Mhm.
We had a very honest relationship.
Yep.
My mother would literally, tell me to go fuck myself and hang up on me. She once sent me a birthday card. On the front, it said, "Dear fuckface." And when you open it, it said, "I love you more than life itself."
Oh.
And
Were there parts of you that were very similar?
yes, and the thing was that we were both very emotional, and I've talked about it before, and it's in the book. My mother, at the end of her life, when my mother was really, really didn't have much of a memory at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
There was one moment I went to be with her for a few days, and I was in bed with her, and we were watching some stuff on television, and she turned to me in a profoundly lucid moment
Mhm.
and said, "I didn't want anyone to love you. I wanted everyone to love me." And there are two things that happened in that moment. One was, it was almost as if she was releasing a secret and a pain that she was holding on to, because as a mother, you don't want to ever say that to your child or feel that way. But it also gave me amazing clarity about my relationship with her. She
Mhm.
was very competitive with me. When I was little, she was competitive. She didn't want anyone to love me. She
As a
didn't want,
child, that's so hard.
I know, but I think my mother didn't really want to have children.
Well,
I
that's
think
great.
I think my mother was an artist. My mother, and I realized very much right after that I became the woman my mother always wanted to be.
Uh, oh.
And so that was unbearably huge for me to have
Whoa. I mean, that just knocked.
to know that she could not love me, the way that I needed to be loved, that she wanted everyone to love her.
But what a gift she gave you.
Huge, amazing. And so for me, it was very much that realization, very much that, and so when my editor and my publisher at Seal said, "Dig deep," it gave me an opportunity to really understand my relationship with her. And that was a gift. And I will say that when people read the book, they think that, it's very funny and weird and charming. And then,
Yeah.
and
I
then
know that
people
other
go,
thing.
"Oh my God,
Yeah.
what you've written about your mother," because I don't make myself out to be a hero in that book at all. I show every single flaw and foible.
Pretty raw. It's definitely raw at parts.
Yeah, and I think that that's what people kind of relate to. I think when we write something, when we're writing memoir, if we make ourselves right, and we make ourselves the hero or the shiro, and everyone else is bad, that isn't true. That's not a memoir. That's an attack on other people.
I'm about to say something. I'm just trying to figure out how to phrase it the right way. What's very fascinating to me about this conversation, because we've never really had this, obviously,
Right.
at all, much to my dismay. I'm thinking right now that it's sort of come a full circle. It's ironic how life is that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm feeling awful because I really want to have more time with you.
Well, I'll come back.
You promise?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not funny. I
No,
mean,
I'll come back.
Okay.
Absolutely. When you said I promised, yes, I'll come back.
And we'll just wing it.
We-
Look,
this was-
we only got this far.
I think this was perfect how we did this. This
It
is
was.
wonderful. This was
Okay,
like two
sweetheart.
girlfriends talking.
Well, that's what this is about. I don't like interviews, so I can't hug you, but I'm hugging you.
I'm hugging you.
Yeah,
I love you, Betsy.
I love you too, sweetheart. And thank you so much for doing this. We'll do it again,
Yes, we'll do it again.
but
We
we'll
can
keep
do
in
part
touch.
2.
But you're keeping in touch with me because I read you so much. I'm not bouncing back on the other side, but we will. All right, sweetheart. Have a good day.
You too. I love you, Betsy.
A lot. I'm sorry we have to hang up right now, but
It's okay.